वेलकम टू मेन स्ट्रीम विद हरप्रीत सिंह तूर। आप सब प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब एंड शलोम। Sometime I wonder where to start and where to leave off, but before we dig into it, please get in touch with me, hstoor@gmail.com, hstoor@gmail.com. Send your opinion, your questions, and I will be more than happy to address those. Whatever I can and whatever I can't, I will dig out the information. And conversation always adds up to further broadening up your mind, and that's why it is very important to have a free-flowing back and forth conversation. And so first, to start with, as you probably have all heard, thank God nobody got killed. A plane, while landing at Pearson Toronto Airport, after touching the ground, actually it flipped upside down. There are a couple of reasons. The investigation is still going on because it happened only yesterday. It will take some time. Some people, about 18 people got hurt, one or two a bit seriously, but some minor injuries. And rest of them, they sort of like literally walked off without any injury. We had this weird weather going on, the wind gust and everything. And I was just listening to the conversation which was being played on the TV about how when the plane was given green light to land, that the wind gust was about 33 miles per hour, and and all those things. And plane actually is built to withstand that kind of gust. So probably, again, it's all permutation combination right now, but we will find out as and when it happens that besides the snow, the wind gust was really high, and 33 miles per hour itself is a bit high when it comes down to the speed of the wind. Just imagine, you're traveling at about 33 miles per hour in the car, how fast it is. So again, thank God nobody got injured. Now that also brings back, we had an accident, where a plane crashed into a helicopter in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, where everybody died. And one of the reasons is that the air traffic control, the system they use, that system is old system. The way the things work within the government, at least that's how it was till Trump took over. The Congress assigns when they pass the budget, they say that, okay, X amount will be spent on such and such project. So that's where this air traffic controller system also come into the play. The system right now is not actually the top-notch system, because it is an old system. So it needs to be upgraded as you go along, and there are always there is so much going on as far as the computers are concerned, and the way the calculations are done, the algorithm, it changes every day, and the people who are working behind, they are also doing so many things. But interestingly, we have this Elon Musk factor, if I may say so, or the Doge, as they pronounce it, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, that's the name which was given to it, which has been literally putting the agencies out of business, starting with the US, AID, which was actually Agency for International Development. That agency was involved in distribution of the food, the drugs, and all those things, not just in the United States, but overseas in throughout the world. But going back to that, so DOGE already fired some of the staff from air traffic controller system. Now they are saying that they fired that staff only, which is the maintenance, not the controllers. We don't know. Nobody really knows what's going on, what is happening. For example, they fired more than 300 people or close to 300 people from the American nuclear program. The people who actually keeping an eye on the nuclear arsenal and also keeping an eye if there is any rogue missile coming into the United States. They fired 300, and then they said, oh, we didn't fire 300, we just only about 50 of them who have nothing to do with that day-to-day activity. And guess what? The people they fired, they can't find those people anymore, at least some of them, because they want to hire them back. So that's why when I started the program, I said that I don't know what to say and what not to say. You know, one of the reasons, yes, there are always chances of trimming the fat, always the chances of making the government work more proficiently, making the things better. But at the same time, the bureaucracy has its own role, its own very specific role. And that role actually is to not to make the judgments based on your instant mindset calculations, but to slow the process down a little bit so that you can literally see the pros and cons. If you make certain changes, what would happen, what will be beneficial, what will not be beneficial, all those things. That's part of the bureaucracy. And not only that, a person who gets hired, who is new, it takes him years of experience actually to find certain things the way they need it to be. You know, for example, an auditor, you hire a person who is new to audits, he will not be able to catch the stuff which a professional auditor who has been doing a job for quite some time. You know, I will share some personal experience here that I personally, when I worked in India, I worked in a bank and I did work on, you know, balancing the books and stuff like that, finding the errors whenever there were. And that actually, when I started, I knew nothing. But as I progressed, interestingly, one of the traits which I developed was, which is with me still today, till today, that if there is something wrong, it will stop me from going to the next page. I may not know immediately what is wrong till I go into further details, but definitely I'll say that no, there is something fishy here. It doesn't meet the test. So need to look into it. So same way, now what we see here, as far as the Democrats are concerned, they are staying mum. And I'm really disappointed with that. I have no idea why there is no activity, and if there is any activity, it is not being reported the way it should have been. And I guess it is one of the reasons is because everybody is looking at certain things from a certain perspective. Number two, all the news medias, most of them actually, they are actually owned by certain people who have the monetary interest in everything from the government, and they are looking for something from Trump, directly or indirectly. And I can, you know, we definitely can set up some, give you some examples of that. Let's take a break, and after the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream. So, looking at it, Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, Amazon guy. Okay, LA Times is owned by another businessman. We had Google, we have Apple, and all these people, they were at the side of the Trump when he was there to take the oath, except Bill Gates of Microsoft. He was not there. Every other major business person was there to make Trump happy. They gave him millions of dollars, including Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. He was there. Allison from AI, he was there. So the list can go on and on, but the question is, all these businesses, they always contribute to the inauguration committee of the president, but this time it was different. This time they were there to kiss the ring, if I may say so. And within that ring, who is actually doing whatever is being done with Doge is Elon Musk. Even though, they are trying to push it back. No, he's not in charge, but he is. I don't see any sign where it doesn't appear that he's not. Because when they are going into all these offices, I really am glad that in San Francisco at Sheriff's Office, when some of these young kids with the MAGA hats and Doge, shirts on them, walked into the sheriff's office, and they called they called the cops. And before the cops showed up, they left the building. So if they really have the authorization, why they left before the cops came in? It means, to me, it's simple. If somebody is trespassing into your property, you call 911, the person will leave, which means the person acknowledges indirectly that he's not there based on any permission or any authority. So we can go on and on this thing. They are already into Social Security system, in charge of Social Security. When he refused to do it, they made him to resign. I'm going to come into Department of Justice also after this break, because that's another thing which we really need to look at. So they try to get into individual tax information, IRS, which is your and mine information. The government actually spends billions and billions of dollars to protect your personal information. And before access is granted, how it is granted, it's discussed. I know that there are within Capitol Hill, when the committees sit down, there are public hearings, there are private hearings, and then there are private hearings and meetings. And when they go into those rooms for that kind of meeting, and these are elected senators, elected congressmen, they are required to leave even their cell phones, their watches, and anything which has electronic, they had to leave it out before they walk into that room. Then they shut the door and then they talk behind the closed door. And here we have Doge, who are going around flashing their MAGA hats and, accessing the data. And these are young kids, early 20s. Some of them may not be even their 20s. And what they are going to do with the information? Your and my personal information. what actually could happen was, which I was actually looking at and listening to somebody, and he said it to some extent, depending on, sometime before I make that statement, let me say something. People will listen what they want to listen. People will believe what they want to believe. But the facts are the facts are the facts. Look at the division which has been created by social media within the communities. Now, this gentleman, he said that the reason why Doge is looking into all this information and they are gathering all this data is because what they are going to do, they are going to look at the voters who actually voted for them to be in the power, and then they are going to target the messages to those people to make them their loyal ground soldiers, not only to work as a soldier, but also to give the money. There are already some instances coming up where somebody made a contribution to one person online, but that information was used to donate or redirect the funds to some other candidates, and on and on. So there is a probability of this process that we probably will not have the democracy as we know it, as we see it. When 2024 election took place, I ran as a Democrat. I ran for the New York State Assembly. So when I ran for that seat, there are things which I learned at that time, which I probably would not have learned otherwise. By being on the ground, you learn so many other things. What this can do is, American society is already divided. That division could be so severe that it will take generations to patch up that division. I personally know the families where you had in a family a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. They will have their conversation. They will watch their own shows. They'll watch their own TV channels and stuff like that. But now that is breaking down. There are divorces happening because they don't agree. The one is Democrat, the other one is Republican. The kids actually are not happy with certain things. They are going their own way. And then on top of that, we have our vice president who actually gives a lecture on how to listen to those, if I may say, maniacs who actually wanted us to go back to Hitler's era or era before that. When you had a king, he will tell you where to march, how to march, who to kill, what to capture. You capture that, you come back and you tell, my lord, I got what you ordered me to do. What's next? And that could be something which we may be, looking at as we come into the future of what is happening. We are going to be in a big, big trouble. This is something which really scares me. Not about the generation, my next generation, but the generation after that where we will end up. So now look at this. The election time, it was said that we are not going to weaponize Department of Justice, right? That Justice Department has been weaponized by Democrats, by Biden administration, and they are doing whatever XYZ, right? Now let us sit back and see what is happening. What's going on? How the things are being pushed through the throat of the people who actually are at Department of Justice, who are protectors of your rights. Let us take a break. After the break, I will be right back. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet. Weaponization of Department of Justice. Let's look at it. I have few things here which I'm going to read and talk about. Let's take, let me first take you to Trump's first presidential, when he was the president for the first term in from 2017 through 2021, January 2021, okay? He did everything to break whatever he could, including Department of Justice. He had Jeff Sessions as, Attorney General, but there were things which he wanted to do which Jeff Sessions refused to do. What happened? Jeff Sessions ended up leaving the Department of Justice, resigning from his post or getting fired as an Attorney General by Trump administration of the time, okay? Then came in Bill Barr. Bill Barr actually obeyed almost every order which was given to him by the then President Trump, except when the election results came out and President Trump at that time found out that he's going to lose, he's losing, he wanted Bill Barr to say that elections are stolen, there was a fraud in the elections. Bill Barr drew the line. He said, no, it did not happen, and I'm not going to make that statement. And he was ordered to resign. He was more than happy to do that. Even though when he was about to walk out of the door, he was stopped and he said, well, the president didn't mean that, so don't do it. But he did it anyway. Okay? Now, fast forward 2025. We have a Justice Department where we have Bondi as, Attorney General from Florida, who bought that the election was stolen in 2020, who bought into every lie which President Trump was saying and still doing. And with her, she has this Deputy Attorney General Bove, B-O-V-E, B like boy, O, Oscar, V, Victor, E, Echo, okay? New York City Mayor Eric Adams, we all knew quid pro quo. American system, American democracy, the other system, they were designed in a way where, to control the corruption, giving the money to get the contracts was illegal, whether it is within America or it is overseas. And for us, the South Asians in general and Indians in particular, who would know that Adani was charged by Department of Justice for fraudulent practices and pushing the envelope under the table, okay? That was illegal. But under current administration, it's all legal. Why? Because apparently when Donald Trump was a developer here in New York, he must have learned the tricks of the trade, how to get the things done, not showing everything above the table, but dealing with the stuff under the table also. Again, I know I'm repeating, he claims he's a successful businessman and the people buy it. I don't, because he declared 5 or 6 bankruptcies worth billions of dollars, which were your money and my money, the taxpayers' money. What would happen now? I don't know how many people are going to do that. So going back to Mayor Adams, so he actually was involved in some of the issues with Turkey, and those issues were where he got this, first-class trips and all that stuff. So investigation was going on, and finally the charges were filed. For those people who really have memory which they can use going back, if they remember that, Mayor Eric Adams was stopped actually on his way. His car was stopped to take away his personal cell phone because of the investigation, because there was a data within that cell phone which the government looks at. And these are very specialized people, and these specialized people, they actually hone their techniques over the years by working and learning. Not somebody who just came off the college and can claim that I know everything because I read everything. We know that studying in college and practical life these are totally different things. Anyway, so now Eric Adams has been traveling first to Mar-a-Lago even before President Trump got elected. Then after the election, then he had been to Washington, D.C., even though he's saying there is no pro quo, but quid pro quo. You give me something, I will give you something. But look at it, okay? The previous mayor, Bill de Blasio, he actually drew a line when last time Donald Trump was the president, and he did everything to protect every resident of New York City. And we also had Governor Cuomo at that time, who also did his best to protect. They were not protecting the criminals. They were actually protecting simple people who were here because of various circumstances, depending on which country they came from, and they wanted to make their life and their family's life better, to have a better future, and things like that. That's what they were looking for, and they were protected. Now here we have a mayor who has given a green light for everything, including going into Rikers Island, picking up the criminals. I'm not against that. If you commit a crime, you deserve to pay for that crime. The practice used to be that, okay, you did a crime, you served, after serving, then you will be deported depending on what kind of crime you did. Now it is not like that. Now it is like, they can stop you, they can ask you, even though it is not up to that point yet, but there are some instances where it is happening, which are very rare, especially still within New York City where I live. Even though there is on social media, a lot of people, they are lying about a lot of things, including some of the people who are candidates for upcoming election for New York City Council. So when we look at that and we see that Eric Adams has also kissed the ring. There must be reason that 4 deputy mayors resigned. Interestingly, what happened was when this public corruption case was about to be withdrawn, Justice Department, actually, this is interesting that 7 district attorneys and the people who actually assistant deputy district attorneys who were working on the staff, they actually resigned, literally resigned from their positions. Let us take a break. After the break, we will continue on this topic. Welcome back to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor again. So this is what happened. Bowie called in about 20 attorneys on a video call, and he actually asked them to sign, because they had to sign before that decision can go in front of a judge to dismiss the charges and dismiss the case. 7 senior attorneys, including some who were appointed by Trump himself, even they resigned. So there must be something very serious, and this is, we are talking about public corruption here, okay? So that is something which it was about. And then when he called all these 20 attorneys and he asked them, either they should do what he is demanding them to do, not asking, demanding them to do, or they will be fired. Now, just imagine, put yourself in those shoes and look at it. That you have the family, you have the houses, you have the mortgages going on. What would you do? You are looking at all those options because you don't come across that many people who will be willing to go to bed without having food on the table than doing something, which they were asking them to do. So those 7 who resigned, they were willing to take that risk, and they did it. Even though there are not that many positions out there for that kind of specialty which the department they are leaving. So what is happening here is that he twisted the arms, and then one of the person who was senior most, when he looked at it, it all depends how you look at it. He said that he agreed because he was looking at the people who were junior to him, who had actually dedicated their life to be the fair and equal to everybody, irrespective of their affiliation with the parties. Because so far the departments were working without any of those considerations, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you will abide by the law. So that Department of Justice is actually now becoming a weapon. Same thing with IRS. What is interesting is Defense Secretary Hegseth actually got a notice from IRS because they audited his tax return and he owed $33,000. And guess what? He's not happy, Trump is not happy, and they are going after the staff of IRS. And let me tell you something. The people who deal with the IRS, because I do taxes, I deal with them most of the time, they have increased their efficiency. When you make the call, it used to be you are waiting for hour, 2 hours before somebody will attend the call. Now it is not like that. Now it is more like you call, either somebody will pick up the phone or you will get the automatic message and you will get in line and you will get the message that, okay, somebody will call you back. And they call you back within less than half an hour. So that is under attack. Department of Justice is under attack. Federal Bureau of Investigation is under attack. So these are internal American things which we are actually looking at. Now, before the end of the show, I want to also discuss international issues. Why I want to do it, even though, I don't have that much time left right now, but it's very important. Maybe next time when I come in, I will just discuss about international issues, including Indian Prime Minister Modi's visit, and how immediately before the visit and after the visit, it was like, okay, some of the tariffs within India, they decreased it. And in a way, Trump won. Doesn't matter how you look at it. Even though the media, Indian media, will not agree with it, definitely it will not. But in this negotiations, Trump actually got what he wanted. He got actually more than, and he will get more. He's not stopping. And also, Vice President actually went to Europe and gave a lecture about freedom of speech and conversation. And right here, we have, freedom of speech being throttled. You are being, it is not throttled, it is like, mummed. You are not allowed to express your expression freely. Because if you did it, you will be in trouble. Mehdi Hasan, I love this guy. He is from India and he used to be on MSNBC, and he is part of now a totally independent organization, Zeteo, and I follow him there. Mehdi Hasan actually posted on Twitter, hey, Twitter that at JD Vance, I know you are busy lecturing the Europeans on free speech, but have you seen this? And that what he's talking about is President Trump's decision to limit AP, that's one of the news reporters. AP reporters' access is as much fight over the Gulf of America as it is a protest of what White House advisors say is years of liberal word choices that AP's influential style book has spread across mainstream. Gulf of America, he did it. Google changed it, Apple changed it, but for the rest of the world, it is still Gulf of Mexico. Because for more than 500 years, it has been Gulf of Mexico. And that's how the rest of the world is going to retain it. Okay? And J.D. Vance actually answers to that. He's calling Mehdi Hasan a dummy. Yes, dummy. I think there is a difference between not giving a reporter a seat in the White House press briefing room and jailing the people for dissenting views. The latter is a threat to free speech. The former is not. Hope that helps. I haven't seen anybody during Biden administration being arrested for his views. And I will personally tell you, right here on the streets of New York, Manhattan on Madison Avenue, it was across 25th Street, Madison Avenue, at the end of the Sikh Day Parade, the then mayor, Bill de Blasio, he was actually speaking from the stage, and there was a Sikh gentleman standing next to the stage on the street with a sign and yelling the things while mayor was speaking, and he was definitely interrupting and wanted his full attention. So somebody asked me to talk to the cop to stop him, and I told him, I said, he doesn't have the right to do it. He said, no, why don't you talk to him? I said, okay, come with me. I took him to the cop. We went to the cop, and I asked him, I asked cop, I said, okay, this is what this gentleman is requesting. If you can ask this gentleman to stop. He said, no, I can't. He has freedom of speech. So here is a perfect example where a person is yelling right there on the mayor, but the cops are not arresting him because he had freedom of speech. Now you try to go out and say something, and you will be really afraid before you say it. And honestly, for myself also, for the first time since my arrival in the United States, even I don't know when I probably would be stopped and questioned. And also, based on current situations happening here in New York City, because I love this city, we definitely have the mayoral elections coming up. The primary is in June. And looking at the whole scenario, I have been hearing this, that from reliable sources, that the former governor Andrew Cuomo may run for the mayor of New York City. And right here on this show, I'm declaring that I personally would love to have him as a candidate and win, because we need somebody who will stand up to the rule of the law. And he did it when he was the governor, and he will do it now. And we really need people with the backbones. And I think he's one of them. With that note, till next time, good night and good luck.